All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another season of UTSA football. We've got head coach Jeff Traylor here to take your questions today. If you don't mind, use the raise hand function to ask questions. All right, Greg, go ahead and get us going.
Jeff, how you doing today? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Good morning, Gray.
Morning. I wanted to ask you, as you go through this final week of preparation for the start of the year, are there any kind of starting spots that are still being sorted out, or do you feel really comfortable with who you're going to be setting out there for week one?
Um, that's one of those kind of questions I probably should have thought about a little bit more, because to me it looks the same as I see them every day, but for you guys it might look a little bit different. I'd say we're pretty set in every position. There's a couple that we're still watching, believe it or not, but we're pretty set. Of the 22 starters, we play so many kids though, Greg. It's also difficult as well to say whoever starts the game first doesn't necessarily matter to us as much as we're going to play a lot of kids.
How's the overall health of the group at this point?
We're not bad. We're way better than we were last year coming into this thing. We've had a couple, that frustrate you, but we're nowhere near as bad as we were last year. We don't have the unbelievable bad luck of season-ending injuries in camp. So we avoided some of that. We'll have some kids not out there, obviously, because of injury, but not anything crazy.
With JT in particular, what goes into the process with him at this stage? What are the factors you consider of whether he's going to play or not?
Yeah, again, it's another good question. One we're struggling with. He's looking really good in practice. He's obviously been in a red jersey, and it'll be a game time decision. And that's going to be tough when we decide to do that. And we'll listen to our trainers and to JT, obviously, and we just don't know. It'll be a game time decision.
Stephen.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Good morning, Stephen.
Morning. You guys, it's been 9 years since the Roadrunners and Cougars last played in Houston, so no one with either program can really remember that. But what are you guys expecting as far as the atmosphere and the crowd on Saturday night?
When I coached at SMU, we played them there, so I've gotten to play in the stadium and know what their crowd is like. And they've got a rich tradition in Houston of playing a lot of good football. And Coach Holgerston has had a really good career there, going on his 5th year. They've won 20 games in the last 2 seasons. He's one of the best offensive minds in the business, and he'll have a great plan like he always does.
JJ.
Jeff, what's the mood of the guys? How did they look yesterday at practice?
It was an incredible practice. We did it until 6 o'clock just to prepare for the heat. And by 6:45, man, the Lord blessed us with some unbelievable wind. We had 6 tents out there just to protect us from the heat. And when that storm blew in, those 6 tents are now up there somewhere on 1604. So we might need some boosters to step up and buy us about 6 more tents for Saturday, please.
Any idea what to expect on Saturday with the elements? I think it was that Texas State game a few years ago. It was real hot up there to open the season. You learn any lessons from that?
Yeah, I don't know that you can really prepare for it. It's 100 degrees. Humidity is going to be high, like always in Houston. And you just better be prepared to play a lot of kids. It's going to be hard to get through that game with just one set of kids. So you better be 3 deep and hydrate.
Shehan.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good morning.
Hey, so I'm writing a story on Frank Harris, and to kind of get started, I mean, what has Frank meant to your program, and especially his decision to come back?
I make jokes about it. I'm not sure there's any other kid I could speak on more than I have Frank Harris in a flattering way. Of what words could you not use to describe the young man? And then he has to go through the offseason that he went through again, which just makes it even more remarkable. And it's been tough on him this spring. He played through the bowl game, shouldn't have probably played in the game, went ahead and played, had surgery immediately. Then he had the infection set in, looked really bad all the way up to the month of May. And Dr. D watched him walk around. And, he believed and convinced me and his mother and his father and Frank that he could fix Frank. And what a blessing that was. And June started getting a little bit better, July a lot better. And he had his best practice last night. He's excited about playing. That's just the on the field stuff. But, man, his smile, who he is as a leader will go down in history forever for what he did for UTSA and our program.
You guys have had players come through the program, Marcus Davenport, for example, who have, obviously either become NFL players or gotten national acclaim. I mean, how much does it help a program when you do have a player who's kind of getting national headlines like that?
It's invaluable. I mean, we're on Fox Sports, Saturday night at 6, a national football game. What value does that bring a city and a university, especially someone that's only been playing football for 12 seasons, going on 13? I don't know if you can even put a number on it. I know there are people way smarter than me that could put a value on that price of what that's doing for our university, but even more just the belief he gives our locker room, our coaching staff. He touches a lot of people, and we know when Zero's back there behind that center, we all got a chance, no matter what the score is and how much time's left. Everybody in San Antonio believes we still got a chance.
How cool is it that that for him, he's a kid from the area, that he's somebody kind of representing his hometown team? Do you think that helps your program as well?
There's no doubt. I mean, it's really rallied our city, especially when we're on the other side, our defense. You got Rashad Wisdom, who's from Converse Judson. Frank is right here from Shirts Clemens. Oscar Cardenas, our tight end, who's made historic plays, is from Brandeis. So all that, you had it goes on and on about those San Antonio kids, and they feel like they're overlooked and not recruited like maybe some of the other areas are. So it's always a great story for us, and we can put one of our own out there and lead our football team.
Is there something about Frank and his personality that kind of, let me actually ask this. Obviously when he decided to come back, there was a press conference, and it wasn't just football folks. It was people from all over the city. I mean, what is it about Frank that brings so much excitement, not just to the football team, but also just that rallies the community around him?
His mother and father deserve a lot of credit. They've raised an unbelievable young man that has the ability to move in and out of so many different circles. And he always understands how he's a social genius. I mean, he really is. He can move in and out of every conversation. He knows when to speak. He knows how to speak. He listens very well. He's a social savant. I mean, he really is. And because he has a great heart, you can tell his motives are pure. He's very authentic. He's just gifted, man. And it comes from being raised by two unbelievable people. Daryl and Talita have done a great job, and she's going to laugh when she hears me say her first name. I usually call her Mrs. Harris because I'm scared to death she's going to be mad at me.
Last sort of thing. I mean, obviously you guys are moving to the American this year. Do you think that when it comes to some of these national things, do you think that this platform gives him a unique opportunity heading into his final season?
Yeah, we all understand that. It's just you got to be careful with all that external noise because you need to be intrinsically motivated. And that's what you guys are for. Y'all are the best at that. Y'all are going to stir all that up for us. We've got to stay true to our culture. And I know that sounds like such coach talk, but you get to thinking about all that too much, and you'll forget what the main thing is. And the main thing is, we've got Houston in 5 days, and we got to be ready to go get that one.
Hey, JJ.
Jeff, I just checked. I think you're a 1-point favorite over Houston. What's your reaction to that?
I can't see how you would expect us to go into Houston and be a favorite. I mean, those guys they've won 20 games the last 2 years. And I'm not trying to put down my team at all, but we have a lot of respect for the University of Houston, their tradition, how good they are at home. And so, yeah, 1 point, that's basically a pick 'em. It's very flattering that people would consider us to be like that. But I also think that's a little bit of a stretch when you're going on the road to play a team as talented as the University of Houston. It's going to the Big 12 right now.
We'll go to you, Steve.
Hi, Coach. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Last year, Houston Cougars offense was very predicated on the Clayton Tune to Tank Dell connection. Neither player is no longer on campus. So what are the things you've seen from this new look Houston offense so far?
Well, it's not so much what I've seen because we don't have any way to. We watch them in practice. Now, if you could get that to me, I'd appreciate that very much. But we haven't got to watch them. But we do know what Donovan Smith is like, how talented he is. We know how great of an offensive receiver Golden is. They've got some guys now. And Coach Holgerson is as good an offensive mind there is in the entire business. And he's been that way his entire career with his history with Coach Leach. And he's a guy I've watched and studied for years. And they'll figure out a way to move the football. They've been doing it for a long time. So obviously they had a really good combination last year. But I bet they're pretty excited about their new combination. Very rarely do you get to have a quarterback that's been starting and already beat the University of Texas and Oklahoma, and now he comes to Houston as their starting quarterback. That's pretty unique.
And then is there anything from last year's triple overtime game that you just carry into this game that still remains on your mind?
Just how we got, dominated up front. Y'all's defensive line just dominated our offensive line. We only ran the ball for 30 yards with our running back position. And that it's hard to win a ball game, which we did not, when you can't block people up front. We've got to be better up front in order for us to have a chance Saturday night.
Thank you, Coach.
Greg?
Jeff, you've mentioned how much that game against Houston last year kind of ate at you for a while, and perhaps still does in some ways. Is there anything that you, looking back at it this year, might have seen that change your perspective on that game, or any way you look back at that differently a year later?
I think what made it so painful, Greg, we had just put ourselves in such a position to probably pull off a game we might not have deserved to have won in a way, but we had put ourselves in position. We just couldn't close it out. And some of those were self-inflicted, which that really makes it worse when you're the head coach, when it's self-inflicted. I've done this a long time. This is my 19th season to be a head coach. First games are very unpredictable. There's going to be some of those mistakes. I understand that. But to give away, lose a home game last year, I think that just compounded all that. I think it's way different this year. We're not going on the road to Houston. It's a different kind of, it's us against the world kind of deal. You don't have all those false start penalties that our crowd created, which they're known for creating. We're not going to get those this year. We're going to have to go in there and be even better than we were last year if we could put ourselves in a position to win the ball game late.
You mentioned the line there when JJ asked about it, and I know you guys come into this matchup with a decent amount of continuity compared to last year, whereas you mentioned Houston's kind of adjusting to a new quarterback and maybe changing a few things. How do you see that dynamic? Is that an advantage that you feel like you have at this stage of having some continuity from last season?
Well, yeah, that's always better than, losing a bunch of kids. We got our back on offense, so we hope that's going to help. Now, losing your center, for 3 years, Maka was really good. Losing Kevin Davis at right guard, he was really good. And we lost a wide receiver that was really good as well. So that's 3 we had to replace there. Defensively, we've lost our nose guard. We lost our linebacker in Trevor. So McDougal, Trevor, you lost your nickel in Dadrian. You lost your corner in Corey. You lost your safety in Cliff Chapman. Our defense took a hit over there now. So we've got to replace some of those guys. We lost a really good kicker in Sackett. So those are some areas we've got to adjust as well. And I understand they lost Toon, but, man, they replaced him with a great quarterback in Smith. I know they lost Tank, but we think Golden's going to be really good as well.
And I know Steven asked you about the 2014 game. I know that's before you or any of this roster got here, but for the fan base, I know that's a point of pride for them and something that they're pretty excited about. Do you guys do like a history lesson or anything? Do you look at that at all this week?
Not that far ago. I mean, that would be a long stretch to go back, but I did speak to Kevin Brown last night, and he's still pretty proud about that game for the old Roadrunners. So yeah, I know it's a source of pride for our city and what Coach Coker and those guys did, and we're not appreciating that. But there's not much we could take from that, it being so long ago.
Do you value opening the season with a matchup between two kind of relatively even teams? Do you prefer kind of ramping up if you had like an FCS opponent week one, or how do you sort of view what you'd like the ideal season to look like?
Yeah, from a fan point of view, it's perfect for you guys. I mean, it's 3.5 hours. It's regional. Two teams that had a great game last year. As a head coach, you wish you were playing the worst team in the country, and you could go out there and kind of practice a little bit before it started counting. But we didn't get that at all. We don't have one of those in our first four. So we have as tough a non-conference schedule as anybody in the country. So ready or not, here we come, Brother Greg.
And the last thing I wanted to ask you about was the kickoff luncheon Friday. I know you guys had a pretty big event for that. What was your message to the people in attendance about the importance of that and what giving can do for the program going forward?
Well, I think just that luncheon shows what this program can be. It was as nice as I've ever been around in my entire life. What Bob and Peggy Wills did to pull that off was just truly remarkable. How our city answered, the mayor, the judge. I mean, I appreciate Ron and Peter for being there and Jenny Carnes for being there. That was incredible. Sold 76 tables, over 750 people in attendance. And I just said the same thing I've been saying. I'm grateful for where we are. I am, but we've got a long ways to go. We dominated Conference USA in so many categories, from our attendance to, we got our budgets up to the top 3 in that league. And now you're moving to a league where that's not that way anymore. And we're so hot. Our trajectory is on such an upward tick right now. We've got to stay there, and we got to keep pushing the envelope. So it's a fine line I'm always walking, because I am grateful, but I don't want to lose this momentum. I love the notion of doing more with less, but it sure was being in Conference USA and doing more with more. I like doing that better than I do more with less.
Is there anything else for Coach Traylor this morning? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you. God bless. Birds up.
Thanks, Jeff.